right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Lumio Palooza global event, where we will be providing fun, fresh PD opportunities, highlighting how Lumio can provide a fluid workflow that benefits teachers and students. We will show you how to create lessons and activities on a variety of topics, including classroom instructional strategies. My name is Jennifer Underwood, and I'm a customer success manager from Florida. This webinar, Comprehension and Vocabulary Development with Lumio, features Tracey McGrath, Technology Program Specialist with the School District of Philadelphia. We encourage participation. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat box during our presentation, and we will either integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered during our Q&A period. Michelle Ginsberg, Professional Development Specialist from Arizona, is supporting you in the chat and will be sharing resources from today's session along as we go. Also, for participating today, a certificate will be provided after you complete a brief feedback survey. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Tracey so that we can dive into today's session, Opportunities for Improving Comprehension and Building Vocabulary with Lumio. Take it away, Tracey.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to see you this morning. It's so cool. I'm watching the chat and seeing how many of you, or how many states, I would say, are represented here. And also super excited to know that I am presenting internationally because I see somebody from Finland. That is so cool. So I hope that at the end of today's session, that you have some ideas that you can walk away with and use within your own classroom or even with the people that you coach. As Jennifer said, I am a technology program specialist, which in Philadelphia, it simply means that I work 12 months a year. I'm also an instructional technology coach, but I also work on a lot of back-end projects. And of course, for those of you that are also 12 months a year, you know that summertime is a big time for PD and planning and curriculum writing and updates to websites and an implementation of other systems, and I work on all of that. So I've been in the district for, I like to say now, I'm going into my 32nd year, and I've had experience as a second grade teacher, a digital literacy teacher, and also now as a coach in the Office of Educational Technology since 2008. I can't even do the math at this point. I just know the date. So again, welcome. So I would love to know, before we get started in my presentation, a little bit more about you. And I would also like for you to engage as much as possible with this lesson. So first things first, please join my class. You can go to hellosmart.com. If you're on a laptop, I always like to do an incognito window just because if I'm already working in my own Lumio session, I have that incognito window as a student. Enter class ID 840916. And then, of course, you can also join with that QR code. And I see that Michelle is putting that information into the chat. I'm going to stop talking for just a moment to let folks join me. And then I will move on with our opening activity.
I love all the different ways students can access the teacher's class. Makes it super simple.
Yeah, and the one way that we don't have, oh, actually, no, Michelle put it, Mish, I'm sorry, Mish put it into the chat, and it's that direct link. And I love that too for like Google Classroom, and sharing out and having them book it, because that never changes.
Right. I see those numbers are just moving along. 65
yep. So I'm
of you
go
have joined.
Ahead now and get started. So the first thing I'd like to do with you is a roll call. Obviously, when our kiddos are in the classroom, this is a great way to like do a temperature test, see where kids are. But on our sticky, pull out a sticky if you would, please, and type your name, subjects, and grade levels that you teach.
Lots of activity in this whole class whiteboard.
I see fifth grade teachers, all content areas. Oh, you're gonna love this lesson then, Alicia. Middle school, high school, love it. Sixth grade ELA, great. ELA in science, awesome. I see some coaches in here.
Yeah, some social studies. There's definitely vocabulary and comprehension building in every single content area.
Every single
This
one.
is
So yeah,
amazing.
my mom always had a saying that, when you buy a cookbook, if you get 3 good recipes out of the cookbook, it's a successful purchase. So that's my goal for you today. I'm going to show you lots of different strategies, and hopefully you will walk away with 2 or 3 that you haven't seen and are excited to use in your own classroom. All right. Thank you for taking part of that. And again, welcome. And I'm glad to see so many different people from different backgrounds are here. I think it's going to be great for sharing ideas. Okay, so our agenda today, basically, I'm going to break this presentation into 3 different parts. So the first part, we're going to talk about different strategies to improve comprehension. Then I'll demonstrate strategies to build vocabulary. And then at the end of our presentation, we'll give you some times for question and reflection. So strategies to build comprehension. So I just want to give you some background on how I came to this presentation. So as a coach, I was working with a teacher this year who was focused on using the book, the novel Wonder, with her kiddos. And she was doing a lot of like hands-on worksheets with them. And I said, well, and she was a new board user, just got a brand new board. I said, well, let's think about ways that we can use Lumio to engage your students. So a lot of the activities that I'm going to show you are activities that come from the book Wonder. And then I'm also going to show you some activities that came out of the book Outsiders that I did with another one. Now, while these are 2 novels, specific to these novels, you're going to see that the activities that I show you really can be used and edited for any novel or any book that you're reading. So our first activity that I want to show you is really trying to get kids to use those higher level thinking skills and put themselves right in perspective of a character. So this activity, as you can see, it's one of the templates, the ready-made templates that I've used from the Lumio library. And the idea here is that the students would give advice to the main character, Augie, from 4 different characters in the books. So they read, and then they write about what advice they think that person would give to Augie about returning to school and how to deal with a difficult situation with another character, Jack. Okay. Now this too, what I would do in this particular situation is I might use this as a group workspace. Okay. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of an experience with it. I'm going to put in here 9 teams. Now, I don't know how it's going to work with 96 people, but we'll take a shot. One of the things that I like about that group workspace is I can give the directions to the kiddos ahead of time, as I did to you, and then I can break them into teams. I also like the fact that these teams can change. So if I have table numbers, maybe I'm going to, move some kiddos around, just drag and drop a student's name so that the members on their team might correspond with their table numbers. Or maybe we don't need to worry about that. Maybe I'm going to change it for, I don't know, behavior. Okay. And then once we have our team set up, we just go ahead and start that workplace. So from here, I can kind of go in and see what each team is doing and provide some feedback on them. So if I click into team one, I can see, okay, team one hasn't gotten started yet. That's okay. I might want to, obviously I know I'm jumping in here pretty quickly, but I may want to give them some feedback and, kind of point them into the right direction once they get started with that. On the side here, I love now that there are new stickers so that if I'm giving feedback, I can quickly, just drag and drop a sticker to provide feedback to those students.
I was thinking about those students that you would need to like scaffold their learning. So you could actually write and provide some additional information. So certain groups, if they needed it, all within each of the different teams. So lots of ways to use these group workspaces.
Okay, so let me move on to our next activity. So this is a shout it out. Now, one of the things that I really like about shout it out is, as you're going to see in this activity, I put one question in here, but if I wanted to, I could have broken this down into multiple questions. So you now have the ability to provide up to 3 facts about Augie's character. And this, what I like about Shout It Out for kiddos is for those kids that don't normally want to participate or don't want to, raise their hand and call out, this gives them a platform to share their voice within semi anonymity, right? I can turn off show names if I wanted to. Or, and then you can see, so where's a helmet? So there's just a dot here. I have no idea who said this. So I just want to be able to have a conversation, but I don't necessarily need to know exactly who is giving me those answers. So it gives them a voice without having to have them be put on the spot, if you will. So I'll give you a couple minutes on this one.
And while people are sharing their answers, someone asked about voice sharing. So, yep, and Michelle got it. Yep, it's on its way. Something on the roadmap, being able to provide some audio to contributions. Not sure in the shout it outs, but I know on different pages. So that'll be exciting.
And Tracey, if you can just show, Nancy asked a great question. How do you make it to be anonymous? If you can just show that toggle.
Sure. So let me go ahead and get a few more answers here because I want to show how also once we put these answers up, right? I have a couple different options here. I can just go through the board and zoom in on the answers and then use my arrow keys at the bottom to read them off and then go to the next one. So sorry, no clue. That's okay. Augie's a student. He has great parents. Augie has awesome friends. Good posture. He's very smart. He's 10. He's a young boy. And then also I can, if I wanted to, right, start moving some of these around. So here's a main character. He wears, I could put like different character traits in different corners. This one says he's courageous, he's smart, so there's lots of different things around here. I can even have my kiddos come up to the board and now they can categorize the answers and move them around. And we can talk about, well, why did you categorize them that way?
Like that old school poster with the sticky notes. That was my favorite activity, to list, cluster, and label things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this page. You're going to lose it.
If you edit, yeah. I was going to say, if you edit, you might lose all the contributions, but.
Yeah, but that's okay, because I think we got the idea. So if I just choose edit this activity. I'm actually glad you asked that question, because this is also where you would set up your characters. So I'm going to just take this question out. Provide 3 facts about Augie's characters. And maybe I'll just show you what this is going to look like too. Maybe I have 2 questions going on. Okay. So that would be my 2 categories. And what it's going to do when you answer those questions then is it's going to put those answers into the specific categories. And then over here on the right-hand side, this is where you can customize how you want your shouted out to look. So kiddos can either provide text. Maybe you want them to find images. You can decide how many answers you want each student to give. And that's really good when you're doing categorizing. So if I didn't say provide up to 3 facts, maybe I'm just going to say provide a fact about Augie's character and then change it to 3 over here, personal preference. And then down here is where we're going to choose to show student names or hide student names. Okay. And when you show student names, you may only see the first 3 letters of a student's name as well on top of that banner. So again, it depends on your kiddos, depends on your class, it depends on what your purpose is. And then what I also love about this is how you can customize your background based on the activity that you're doing. So, and that's what you see, that's what I did. You see that I put in an image here, and I can just use that Bing Safe Search I can either grab an image and drag it in, or I can search for an image in Bing Safe Search. So if I put in Wonder, I can just grab that image, whoops, and then click OK. I can have the ability to crop and then save. And now I have 2 different images in my background. And then I can just click finish. When I finish editing, I'll just show you, I'll turn this on again for you so you can see the difference. From the student's perspective, you're going to use that drop down now to answer each question.
And then Tracy, if you hit that little gear on the side, and you probably wouldn't do this if you were like up at the board or projecting, but as the teacher, you can see like how many people contributed, kind of what their information is, and turn display names on and off right there on the fly in case something happened. And there was the conversation in the chat about being able to delete inappropriate comments from students, and you guys probably see that garbage can up at the top.
I'm going to step away for 1 second because I forgot to plug my computer in. I apologize for that.
Oh yeah, we will fill in the space. We don't want your computer to get lost.
Oh, we do not.
Yep. So, and you can even drag responses in between the different categories. So depending upon maybe how something fits more appropriately. So very nice to be able to really customize this activity and turn it over to students to be able to make those contributions. And, not only can you help keep things appropriate with the trash can and sort of moderating that way, but in that little gear, you can also see how many times someone has shared, so keep students honest and accountable for making sure they're interacting with the lesson that you have provided for the activity.
I can pause that activity too and interject some comments. Maybe steer them in the right direction if I see that they're going in the wrong direction, and then I can resume it. So I'm going to go ahead and end this activity, and we're going to move on. Okay, so this is a next one. Like, how many of you, right, do turn and talk in your classroom? So I love this activity. So in this particular activity, I would encourage my kiddos to work together to complete the activity. Now they can do it on their own devices. They can have a Google Doc. They can just have a conversation to talk about the book. And what I like about this particular activity is this one is a walk away that anybody can do. You can have this in your Lumio library, import it into any lesson, because as you click on each one of these activities, you're going to see that the questions are very generic. So what I like to do with my kids is give them autonomy to choose the questions that they would like to talk about. And then at the end of that session, I may set the timer for, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on my classroom and the nature of the conversation. Then I might have each table share out with what they discuss. So not every table is going to be doing the same turn and talk. I could also say, I have 5 tables in my room. I want, this table to focus on the first card, table 2 focus on the second card, table 3 focus on the third card, table 4 focus on the fourth card and the fifth card. This is an activity that I will tell you, you guys will get this presentation file when I'm done. This is an activity that I created myself. You won't find this in the Lumio library. So go ahead and take this and import it into yours and save it. I absolutely love this activity. The kids were very receptive to it, and it really does encourage that discussion and collaboration piece. And as you can see, like I said, the questions are generic enough. You can apply it to any story, any content level.
I love all the differentiation that you've built into the activity. There's so many different ways to deliver it and so many different ways for students to interact with this specific activity with this content. And in the chat, they're sharing even more ways and things that they've done, asking some great questions.
Cindy, yes, you can absolutely, that's the beauty of Lumio too. I love this. Do not reinvent the wheel, right? Like I said, we've all done some level of turn and talk activities in our classroom. Virtually, you could do that. It's very easy to do. You could break them into breakout rooms. You could do them in person. The beauty of this is it is very simple to go ahead and edit this activity. And I'll show you that again, how to do that. So if I go into edit the lesson, this is one of the game-based activities, and keep the card, right? That I will tell you that turn and talk PNG is something that I created in Google Slides or Google Drawing or something. But right here is where I can edit the context of each of the question slides. Just text. And then of course you can change your background however you prefer.
Yep, and this doesn't have to just be done from the board. This can be just done in Lumio, just as a lesson that you share with students. That was a question in the chat as well.
Oh yeah, and now I'm sitting here next to a board. We're putting together videos for our teacher training. Like, you could actually have that as a favorite on your board, just this slide alone.
Yep, good idea.
Like, so on the spot, you want to do it, right? You just want to have a turn and talk. You need to break things up a little bit. Let's jump right into that. So you don't even have to have it built into a full-on lesson like I do today. Is there a character limit to the questions in these game-based activities? So I haven't seen one yet. Jen or Mish, do you know of one?
Yeah, so every game will have their own limit. You'll see when you start typing in there, each game has their own. Some people, what they like to do, if there is ever a time where you want to put something that's a little bit longer and your text runs out, a little hack is you can type it in a plain document and then take a screenshot and then bring it in as a picture. Otherwise, once you start typing, it'll tell you, hey, you've got, X amount of characters remaining. So just a little hack there.
Mish, I'm so glad you said that, and I'm so glad I had that prepared, because this is something that I do all the time. And I am going to show you another activity of how I use this particular screenshot. But when I'm building, I have that blank slide right here where I can just put stuff on it and take screenshots and then grab it. And this, when you're doing stuff with text and the game-based activities, that is probably my favorite go-to hack to do. Love that.
Yep.
So that slide, I think you'll have that, but you'll get the idea, right? So I can type in here and then I can duplicate this as many times as I need to as well.
And the images you can expand and zoom in when you're in that game activity. So that's even a bonus element when you do it this way.
Yep. And you'll see that when we talk about vocabulary in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so here is another one of my favorites. Now, this template, I can't take any responsibility for this template. It actually came out of the Lumio library, which is awesome. And I do believe that, if I remember correctly, this, if you search comic strips in the Lumio library, there's different color backgrounds, there's different formats of this. So what I love about this is kids can use their creativity to summarize a story that they're reading or a part of the story that they're reading, or also, again, using those higher level thinking skills. What I put in this activity is I wanted them to demonstrate how they can explain, using the comic strip characters, to somebody the theme of kindness and how the theme of kindness is portrayed in this novel. What's great about these little characters is they're all infinitely cologne, as are the speech bubbles and the backgrounds, so they can pick and choose what they want. Also, I intentionally did not lock down these squares. So if they wanted to kind of resize these squares and really get those creative juices flowing, they could do that. And then, of course, and I'm actually going to, so you guys get a chance to play with this a little bit. Let me just turn this on as an individual handout, so you guys have a chance to play with that as I talk. I would love to see what you guys come up with. But then once you have it as an individual handout, as you can see, you can then use those tools at the top of the page to add your own text, resize that text. I'm sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Good morning. My name is Lola. Okay. And then change your font. All kinds of good stuff there. So I'll give you a couple of minutes just to play around with that. The other thing I like about this is, so there's generic backgrounds here. I just drag them down, I can resize them, but the kiddos can also use the media library and find backgrounds of their own to really get creative.
Possibilities are endless.
Yes. These are all transparent, so it doesn't matter if you're on top of them. And again, as the teacher, I can come in here. I see that 58 of you started, so I can come in and get an idea of some of the work that you're doing. So I see that Alicia is playing around with the different characters and the speech bubbles. Awesome.
And one thing I really like to do when I'm in the classroom is, all of you, when you're working, you see that you've got that done button on the top right of your screen. One way that I like to use that button, other than just saying, hey, I'm done, is I'll tell them, click that done button if you're feeling brave today, and I can share your work on the screen. And then we'll see, we have like Ellen and Bernie, I think, that have that green check mark. And then I'll know as the teacher that those folks feel comfortable with me putting up their work.
Awesome. Nice job, Jay. I love it. I love to see the playing and experimenting with this tool. Has anyone else in the chat used these comic strips in their lessons? If so, how have you used them before, or how do you see other purposes for them?
Looks like quite a few people have used them. Some, this is one of their brand new things that they might be learning about. dialogue. I saw different languages that our participants teach. So being able to have that dialogue with different languages. Ooh, I saw something about reading stories aloud and having having students create additional pages in a book.
Yeah, that would be awesome because you can now download and print these out as PDF. So you could definitely do a class book with this. That would be so much fun.
Yeah. And if you do select the done button, you can then select it again and then go back to edit. So students can kind of submit their information and then edit and change their thinking and go back in and rework.
Oh, I love that one. We could do a cartoon strip for social emotional skills and also creating rules at the beginning of the year. What a great way to get your room prepped for those back to school nights and have student work out there. Oh, that's a nice idea too. I like that, Mish. Alternative endings.
Different perspectives.
Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna kind of flip gears a little bit. We're gonna just go into the outsiders. And again, while this was the idea that I came up with, like using this book, these ideas you can certainly use with multiple any books. This one, perfect example, right? We've all learned about plot diagrams. We know what plot diagrams are. So this is one that I liked to use with my older students. So this doesn't necessarily have to be a teacher facilitated lesson. This might be an independent learning lesson that I'm going to put into Google Classroom, and the kiddos would complete this plot diagram as they're reading the story. And what I like about this is for teachers, what's nice is the teachers can kind of watch where they're going as they're doing it.
I know I
Apologize.
use this graphic organizer with every story my students have read.
Yeah, so this is this again, multiple things. And going back to what I was saying is if I give it to kids as an independent lesson, and we do that, right, by sharing sharing the student pacing link so they can work on it any time of the day. They can work on it for homework. They can work on it inside the classroom. Maybe you have stations going on and it's going to be one of their independent learning stations. As long as they are signed in with their district credentials and not a guest, they can come in and out of this as many times as they want for as long as they want and continue to update it. And then you, of course, you can also give them feedback and kind of push them along or guide them in what they're doing. So another activity that we have, again, this is one of the ready-made manipulatives. This is, or ready-made graphic organizers, I apologize. So Pony Boy, as a character in Outsiders, has a lot of internal conflicts and external conflicts. I would use this in the same way as the plot diagram, where as kiddos are reading the story, they can start to write down some of those internal conflicts and external conflicts. And they have that documentation, and then a teacher would be able to see that as well. All right, any questions about comprehensions before I move into vocabulary?
I don't see any in the chat, but if you have questions, please feel free to continue adding those to the chat as we go.
Okay, so I have a lot of different ways to kind of engage students in vocabulary, think about vocabulary words in different ways in order to help them to retain the words that they are learning within the book. So in this particular example, and again, I'll turn this into an individual handout so you have a minute to play with it as you go through. In this particular example, the kids would look at a word within the story. I give them the page number. Then what I want them to do is write a sentence about that particular word and also then explain the word meaning. What I also like about this is if I want them to do this independently, I also provided in the top corner the directions so that they can hear the directions. Oh, and I don't know why we're unable to get the audio, but that's okay. Let's try to retry it one more time. If not, we'll move on. But I am going to give them in my audio the directions on what I expect for them as they work on this activity. This is also great too for your EL students. It's great for differentiation. While I add the audio on this particular page, you can add that audio on any page that you work with. And it looks like it's not going to cooperate with me today, and that's okay, because we have some other ideas. This one, I actually learned about this activity, this idea in a Lumio Palooza in a previous year. I love this. So what I did here was I took the Frayer model manipulative and I changed it. I resized it and I left this unlocked so you guys can see. And once I had it resized to the the size that I wanted on the page, then I updated my terminology, definition, characteristics, examples, and image. And then I just duplicated it. And I created that 4 square look. So this activity, I could actually, again, turn this activity into a group workspace, and maybe each kiddo in the group is going to pick a word and define that word. So not every student has to do every single word, but they can work together to get ideas from other students. Now, you could do it as a group workspace. You could do it individual. Again, it's up to you. It's up to your kiddos. Another thing that I like about this is I could assign this activity to different kids. Like I could pull this one out separately again in my Google Classroom, and I could create it just as one slide and give it to particular students, make it a whole group workspace, but only assign it to specific students that work independently on a novel. So maybe, and this might be better for younger students that aren't necessarily doing, every child in the class is doing the same novel, but maybe they're doing different reading assignments. In that way, I could differentiate my instruction for them.
I love it. I love how you've kind of created a new activity out of an existing activity and adapted it.
Yeah, and that's again, that is the beauty of so much of what Lumio offers us within their ready-made templates, their graphic organizers, all manipulatives, all those activities, even stuff that you find in Lumio Library, all of those activities are customizable to meet yours and your students' needs. Okay, so here is that match 'em up activity. So if you remember when Mish mentioned about putting text, creating a screenshot for your text, that is what I did with this particular activity. Okay, so you'll see here that I have text on a lengthy amount of text on each particular slide. And if I click on that blue kind of square in the corner, it's going to blow that up so that I can now read it better. My students can read it better, and they can find the word that, it's a fill in the blank activity. So they can find the word that fits in that blank. So other people at Breacher Prep thought August condition was blank, and they would get it if he touched them, right? So I know that that's contagious. I'm just going to drag that down here, and then I'm going to drag this over here, and then it matches. Okay. So as you guys are working on this activity, what I like about this is a newer feature within Lumio. I think it came within the last year. This one now has analytics and insights. So I'm so glad to see that 56 of you are in progress of doing this activity. 33 of you have not started. So this is great. One person has completed that. So I'll give you a couple more minutes as I talk to complete and then show you what those results could look like. In addition to seeing the progress of my kids, I can click on this toggle over here on the top right, and I can show the results as kids are completing it. Okay. What I like about this insight is it's showing me the average score of my students. It's showing me how much time those students are spending on this activity. It's also giving me the 5 most frequent answers of incorrect. And then I can toggle and it's going to show me the correct answers. So I can see which words might be giving my kiddos some sort of trouble, which is awesome. And then I can also then click into here and look at my student progress. Now, I'm going to show it to you just because we are all teachers and it's not critical to what we're doing, but it does give you that warning, hey, you know, you are going to show student data. Now, you can go back to this after your lesson is over, and you will always have this data to look at, so that if you need to work with some of your kids or have a conversation with your kiddos, you'll know who to have that conversation with. Like, I'm going to use Marie here, and I apologize, but Marie got 3 out of 7. So I can go in and look at what words is giving Marie trouble. And maybe I want to then give her, I can see that, oh, she tried it twice. She's still having a hard time, like shriveled. She tried that word 3 times, 2 times she got it wrong. And then finally on her 3rd attempt, she got it correct. Quivered, she got it wrong on the 1st attempt. Second one, she got it correct. So it really gives you some nice data and information about your students.
And Tracey, one thing I'd like to point out here, and I think Marie started talking about it a little bit in the chat, is one thing that I do like is it does itemize for you if a student keeps getting the answer wrong. So if they keep dragging it and dragging it and dragging it over and over, right away, I know my student is guessing because they don't know, they need help, or maybe they're just having a day. So I do get that feedback immediately to walk over and check in with that student. So yes, Marie, they can keep trying, but you will always know what they tried out first.
Yep, and it shows you here again, like the three correct on the 1st attempt. So this is really more for that formative data, right? To see where your kiddos are. All right. So I'm going to skip through this. I just grabbed these screenshots just to give you some examples, but we got it live, which was perfect. Okay, so here's another activity. So the sticky notes we all love. As Jennifer had said, like, it's a great way to do a parking lot. This again, I used with the kids as they're reading that story and they're working on this independently. If they have an unknown word, they can grab that green sticky and type in that unknown word. They can use that orange to use it in text, and then grab the yellow in a definition. Okay. And this is something that, again, it will help them to improve their vocabulary. It'll help them to focus on words and give them some strategies on how to internalize those definitions. This activity, what name of this activity is under what category? It's
just one of the ready-made resources.
Yeah, the new ones.
It's not, yeah, it doesn't fit under like it feels very game-based activity-ish, but it's just a ready-made resource. The stickies are infinitely cloned, and then you can change up the words or the instructions in the background.
Yeah, and I will tell you that I'm almost positive, it's been a while since I created this, but I'm almost positive if you go just to Lumio Library and search the word sticky notes, you're going to also find a lot of pre-created templates using sticky notes as well in the Lumio Library, in addition to in the manipulatives and graphic organizers. Okay, so we're going to wind down here. This is another one that I really enjoy. This is great too for EL students. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. As you can see, I pre-populated this this graphic organizer with the images, and the goal here is that the students would drag and drop the words to an image, okay, to match that image. Now, as you can see, you might have to play around with the arrangement of order of where those images go and where those words go. Another way to do this is almost the opposite, where you have the words in each one of the squares, and the kids now need to go and look for an image that helps them to identify that word.
I like that. Increases the level of thinking, the level of rigor for students, be able to create.
Absolutely. And you could even, again, do this in both ways. So it's another way to differentiate. So kids that need to see that image to match the word, they have that opportunity. But maybe for those kids that are a little bit higher level thinkers, they can have just the word and they have to search for an image. And finally, the word search. Love, love, love the word search for many reasons. Again, I saw it this morning in Monica's session where she used it for professional development. Now, one of the things that I did here was I put all of the words into the word box. Now, my words don't really have, this is, as you can see, they're random. Some of it's vocabulary, some of it is character words. But if I wanted to just focus just on character words or just on words that relate to a particular topic, one of the things that you could do on a word search, instead of adding the words or showing the words, I should say, is if I go in here and I edit this word search activity, I have this option to not show the word list. And what this does is it makes it a little bit more challenging, because now instead of having the words there, they're going to have question marks. So they now need to look among the words in the word search and try to guess what those words might be. And of course, you still have the hint. So that was a cool thing that I actually learned this morning from a PD.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share that along with you, because I think that, again, it differentiates instruction. It gives multiple purposes on how your kids can interact with those words. And okay, I was going there a little bit faster at the end. I think I'm finishing up with good timing here. This is a great time to just start. And that's what the search will look like after kids complete it. Oh, this is another strategy, right? So this is not an activity. This is a game-based activity, but it doesn't give you any information about the kids. So if you want to kind of check in and make sure the kids are doing it, what they can do is take a screenshot of their finished product and then upload it into your Google Classroom or other LMS as evidence of their completion.
Yeah, so even if it doesn't provide data, you can always do the workaround to get the data if you need it. I like that suggestion. It's awesome. This was so many different variations of activities, ways to build comprehension, ways to build vocabulary. Tracey, it was amazing. We really thank you for your time today and for sharing with us all of your insights and things that you have used with students and been able to kind of share all those different tips and tricks along the way, not only in Lumio, but just in instruction in general with this. We are so very thankful. Thank you, all of you who have joined as well. and Michelle, who handled the chat and lots of additional input to be able to expand upon your learning today. So she's going to be adding additional links to the chat for you. The screen you see now is our feedback survey. So give us your input. For those of you who were in the first session and the certificates had a glitch, it should be fine now for this session. And then here are all of our additional resources for Lumio for you to continue your Lumio learning path with lots of great self-paced activities, the Academy, becoming an ambassador, and becoming part of our Lumio community as well. So let me see what our closing remarks are. I know we want you to share in social. So we would love for you to share some things that you learned, right? What are those 3 recipes that you got from this recipe book that Tracey shared with us today? If you could share any of those things and things that you are going to walk away and do in your classroom tomorrow or when the new school year starts, share your thoughts on social media along with the hashtag Lumio Challenge and Lumio Palooza, but at Lumio Social. Yeah, lots of great. Those of you who share in social will also be entered to win a gift card. So we will be checking in and engaging with you in social as well. So I love the chat and all the learning that is happening in the community along the way with Tracey today. So thank you all as well. So once again, thank you
Thanks,
to
everyone.
everybody. And we're going to give everybody a chance just to grab those final links, those final resources. Lots of great feedback in the chat for Tracey as well, and Michelle. So we hope to see you at future sessions along today and tomorrow. And we will say goodbye for now. And we look forward to having you join us in the next session. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.